Maya stood by the dusty road, crying very bitterly. Mark held his worn bag tight. "I will go to America and make us rich," he promised, kissing her forehead gently. "Wait for me, Maya." She trusted his sweet words completely, not knowing his heart was already full of dark lies. For 3 long months, Mark called every single night. Then, total silence followed. Maya worked endlessly at the wet market, selling fish to survive. One rainy evening, a letter arrived. Her shaking hands tore it open quickly. "I found a wealthy American woman," the letter read. "We are totally finished." Maya fell down to the dirty floor, screaming in pure agony. She had sold her dead parents' land to buy his expensive plane ticket. She lost everything for him. Days later, she fainted while carrying heavy buckets. A kind local doctor checked her closely and smiled. "You are carrying triplets." Panic trapped her completely. How could she feed 3 babies alone? She wept bitterly, eating leftover scraps just to survive. Neighbours mocked her loudly. "Your handsome husband left you for garbage," they laughed cruelly. Maya wiped her wet eyes. "My children will never beg," she swore to the empty room. She cooked her grandmother's spicy sauce, walking miles under the burning sun to sell it. Her huge pregnant belly ached terribly. Rich vendors pushed her away aggressively. "Get out, beggar!" they shouted. She cried but kept walking, begging store owners to taste her food. Finally, one kind man tried it. "This is absolutely delicious," the man said warmly. He ordered 50 bottles immediately. Maya gave birth to 3 beautiful babies the next month. 2 strong boys and 1 lovely girl. She held them tight. "I will build an empire for you," she whispered, kissing their tiny, perfect, soft little cheeks. 5 hard, grueling years passed. Maya suffered sleepless nights, building her business from pure scratch. She faced cruel rejection and deep exhaustion. But soon, her famous sauce was in every single supermarket. She was now a wealthy billionaire. She wore designer suits and owned a towering glass corporate office building. In America, Mark was truly miserable. His rich wife Sandra was incredibly abusive. "Wash my shoes, you useless immigrant," she screamed daily. Mark had 0 money of his own. He was a trapped servant inside a golden cage, deeply regretting the terrible day he abandoned his loving, devoted Filipino wife. Sandra demanded a massive party to renew their wedding vows. "Invite your pathetic relatives so they can admire my immense wealth," Sandra ordered proudly. Mark grinned evilly. He found Maya's old social media account showing her standing near a dirt road. He thought she was still completely poor and desperate. Mark sent a digital invitation directly to Maya. "Come see my perfect life, Maya," he wrote proudly. "You can eat our leftover expensive food if you are starving." Maya sat behind her shiny mahogany desk reading the message. A cold, determined smile formed slowly on her perfectly painted red lips. "He wants to humiliate me?" Maya laughed softly. She looked at her 3 gorgeous children playing happily on the expensive office rug. "Mummy," little Leo asked, "who is that message from?" Maya stood up gracefully. "Someone who desperately needs to learn a very brutal lesson. We are going to America." The day of the party arrived quickly. The luxury outdoor garden was completely packed with rich guests wearing heavy, expensive jewelry. Mark wore a cheap, tight rented suit. Sandra paraded around in an oversized, flashy white dress, constantly barking harsh orders at all the stressed waiters carrying silver champagne trays. Mark kept watching the entrance. "Where is the dirty beggar?" Sandra sneered. "She is probably walking here," Mark laughed wickedly. Suddenly, a massive roar echoed down the street. A multi-million-dollar luxury black limousine slowly stopped directly in front of the grand iron gates. The rich guests instantly fell silent. 4 towering security guards stepped out first. They quickly rolled a brilliant red carpet across the grass. Mark stared in deep confusion. Who is that important VIP guest? Sandra asked greedily, adjusting her tacky dress. The limousine door opened very wide. A stunningly beautiful woman stepped out with supreme confidence. Maya wore a flowing, pure gold silk gown. A gigantic diamond necklace sparkled brightly around her neck, blinding the cameras. The crowd gasped loudly at her absolute royal beauty. Mark's jaw dropped straight to the floor. He dropped his expensive crystal champagne glass. It shattered violently against the hard ground. "Mark, what is wrong with you?" Sandra hissed angrily. But Mark could not physically speak. Before he could finally breathe, 3 gorgeous children stepped out of the shiny car. They wore matching custom designer outfits. They looked exactly like Mark, but they carried themselves like incredibly proud, very wealthy royalty. Maya grabbed her children's hands gently and walked directly toward Mark. Every single guest watched them in total amazement. Sandra blocked Maya's path furiously. "Excuse me, who do you think you are, crashing my exclusive wedding party?" Sandra yelled loudly. "You are not on my special private guest list today." Maya just smiled gracefully. "Actually, I was personally invited," she purred softly. She turned her cold gaze straight to Mark. "Isn't that right, Mark?" she asked smoothly. Sandra snapped her neck toward her pale husband. "Mark, do you actually know this extremely wealthy woman?" Sandra demanded in total fierce anger. Mark shivered nervously under Maya's powerful gaze. He looked at her giant diamond necklace and felt incredibly stupid. "Sandra," Mark stuttered weakly, "this is Maya. She is my ex-wife from the Philippines." Sandra gasped very loudly. The wealthy guests started whispering intensely, pointing at the incredibly dramatic tense scene. "Her?" Sandra screamed, pointing a shaky finger at Maya. "You told me your ex-wife was a filthy street beggar! Look at her necklace, Mark! It costs more than our entire house!" Sandra was completely humiliated. Her own wealthy friends were looking at Maya with intense jealousy and pure admiration. Maya laughed elegantly. "I brought some leftover food from my international food empire, just like you generously offered." Maya mocked him smoothly. Mark felt tears burn his wet eyes. "You own a company?" he choked out. "I own 10 massive factories," Maya corrected sharply. "Thanks for leaving me completely alone." Mark looked down at the 3 children. Their familiar brown eyes pierced his dark soul. Are these my wonderful kids?" he cried softly, stepping forward blindly. "Don't you dare touch them now," Maya hissed like a vicious, highly protective, angry lioness. "They belong to me and me only." "You left me heavily pregnant to starve on the dirty streets," Maya declared loudly so everyone could hear. The guests gasped in total horror. "You threw away a priceless diamond just to pick up a useless ordinary rock," she said, staring directly at Sandra's completely furious, extremely red, hateful face. Sandra shrieked like a wild animal. "How dare you insult me in my own expensive house?" She screamed loudly at Maya. Maya did not flinch at all. She calmly checked her sparkling diamond watch. "Your house? The public bank owns this house, Sandra. We ran a full background check today." Sandra turned totally pale. The wealthy guests started laughing out loud at the massive, embarrassing fake display. Sandra realized she had lost completely. She quickly turned all her furious, boiling anger directly toward her weak husband. She slapped Mark so violently that he stumbled backwards onto the green grass helplessly. "You stupid, worthless liar!" Sandra shrieked at the top of her lungs. "You brought this rich queen here to completely destroy my reputation. Get out of my property right now." She threw her heavy glass of wine directly into Mark's highly shocked, heavily crying, thoroughly devastated, and entirely pathetic face. Mark sobbed loudly, crawling on his knees toward Maya. "Please, Maya, I am so sorry. I was young and incredibly stupid. Let me be a good father to my lovely sons and beautiful daughter." He reached out his hands, completely desperate to touch her expensive silk gown for total mercy. Maya's security guards immediately kicked Mark back into the dirt forcefully. Maya looked down at him with zero pity in her cold heart. "You made your greedy choice, Mark," she stated firmly. "You wanted an easy, rich life without me. Now you have absolutely nothing left in this entire world." Maya opened her shiny purse and pulled out the old divorce letter he sent her 5 years ago. She dropped the crumpled paper right onto his lap. "This letter saved my life," she told him bravely. "It taught me that I never needed a weak man to become completely successful." The 3 triplets watched the crying man closely. "Mommy, who is that very sad man crying on the ground?" little Luna asked innocently. Mark looked up, hoping to hear his children call him Daddy. Maya simply smiled at her daughter and replied, "He is just nobody, my sweet little angel." Maya gracefully turned around, her silk gown flowing beautifully behind her. She held her triplets' hands tightly. The massive crowd of wealthy guests parted quickly like the Red Sea, allowing the powerful billionaire queen to exit. Nobody looked at the miserable, broken man sobbing uncontrollably in the dirty, wet grass. They entered the luxurious black limousine easily. The security guards slammed the heavy doors shut. "Are we going home now, Mummy?" Leo asked softly. "Yes, my love," Maya replied happily. "Our real home, where no one will ever hurt us or make us cry again." The giant car drove away. Mark sat alone in the mud. Sandra had successfully kicked him out of the huge gate permanently. He wandered the cold streets of America aimlessly, without a coat or a single dollar. He passed a massive, bright electronic billboard, completely dominated by Maya's incredibly famous, massive international food brand logo. He stared at his beautiful, victorious ex-wife, smiling down at him from the giant screen. The painful truth finally crushed his black heart. He sacrificed his loyal family for a fake dream. Now, his massive pride was destroyed, and his sad life was completely ruined beyond any possible repair. Meanwhile, Maya returned to the beautiful sunny Philippines, feeling utterly victorious and completely free. Her precious triplets grew up, surrounded by endless love, immense wealth, and deep peace. Maya bravely proved to the whole world that a broken woman's painful tears can water the seeds of an absolutely unstoppable empire.